So what's going on, guys? I am back here with Fred Hirschberger in his office to talk about some of those topics that I told you I'd talk to him about. As we've moved along with this process of kind of developing what we consider to be the perfect fifth wheel in terms of price point to feature to safety features, we've discovered a lot. I've learned a lot because, of course, I'm not a manufacturer. I don't really know how these are built when it comes down to a granular perspective. So the first thing I want to do is give you a big thanks for walking me through your facility and giving me a very unedited approach to seeing how these things are built.
We really appreciate you coming in, JD. I mean, we enjoy giving plant tours.
It really is an eye opener because, again, the perception of me, I live in South Texas, and when I go and walk through and showcase fifth wheels and travel trailers and Class A, Bs, and Cs on my channel, you see the end product, but you don't see the 150 people that all have to come together to build that product. So occasionally when you see something like sawdust or you see something like a nail misplaced, your perception is that obviously there's a quality control issue. But when you walk through the facility here and, you may be different than other manufacturers, but what I saw here was a definite attempt to make a product that when it reaches the end of the line is a very good product. I didn't see you sugarcoating or trying to hide anything during that process. So I definitely want to say thank you for allowing me really, untethered access to your facility. Anywhere I wanted to go, you let me go unless it was just unsafe for me to go there. All right, so some of the things I want to talk about, I want to touch on a lot of the questions I get asked from my viewers. One of those questions specifically, and a good way to kind of lead off is, there's a perception that the industry just doesn't produce products like it used to. That 20 years ago, the product was superior to what it is now in some form or fashion. I don't necessarily think that's true. And the only reason I say that is because I don't see the technology and some of the things that you can now offer in RVs being offered back then. And you've been in the industry for a while. So to somebody who says, is your product today a better product or maybe equal to, in terms of construction, as a product 20 years ago, how would you respond to that?
I would say that the products are far superior to what they were, 20, 30 years ago. The big difference in product today versus 20 years ago is how it has evolved. We've got electric awnings today where 20 years ago they were all manual. We've got power jacks or leveling systems on products today where 20 years ago they were manual. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong with a manual jack. You start looking into interior components and lighting systems, control panels, things that everybody wants today to make camping a little bit easier. Through the build process, it becomes a little bit more complex because of additional parts and pieces and wiring that it takes to do. With that, we've really implemented PDI processes, quality control programs within our facilities. People are trained. Standards today are policed. Where 20 years ago you just didn't see people coming into the plants doing inspections and stuff like that. So I would have to say that the product today that we're producing, that our whole industry is producing, is we've come a long way.
And you've been in the industry for how long?
So I've been in the industry since 1991.
Okay. So you had a good opportunity to kind of see where the changes are taking place.
Yeah. I mean, there's thousands of parts that go in an RV that we purchase, and we work, hand in hand with our suppliers to consistently bring together a better, product. And even today, our suppliers are held to a different level. Our suppliers will come in on a monthly basis and conduct audits on the materials that we're buying from them, that we are assembling or installing in our units, and they'll actually audit our process to make sure that we're following the directions that they line up for us for their products. We do have inspectors online that are versed in code that that's what they do. I mean, they punch in the morning and walk our products and look for potential code issues. You know, when we prototype units, you know, there's a process that we just don't, you know, decide to build a new unit and line up 100 of them and start building them. We've got, you know, processes that we have to follow through and look for potential code issues so that we make sure that we're building the product that that is right.
So during this process of really collaborating with Coachman and Fred more than anything to determine what can we do to change the perception, because in reality a lot of it is perception related to some of the components used on fifth wheels. And I told Fred I would love to see, you know, a Brookstone with 8,000 pound axles. Are they needed? Not necessarily. One of the things he cautioned about is once you go to an 8,000 pound axle, you also need to upgrade your tire to achieve that 10% delta above what the axle rating is. And that's one area we've also talked about. So currently the Brookstone has E-rated tires or F-rated?
Correct.
E-rated tires. So one thing I had talked about is let's see if we can put a more robust tire on. Let's see if we can go to a G-rated tire. So he actually had the folks that distribute the Saloon brand, which you all know I love, the S637, and I have no vested interest in Saloon at all. They don't pay me anything. I don't have stock in their company. But he had some of them roll in here. He saw how robust they were. It's a G-rated, all-steel rated commercial trailer tire. And they're going to do testing with it, right? I think you're throwing them on a unit to do some testing with.
That's correct. We're going to go ahead and prototype them on a unit, and I've got a driver that works for our plant that, you know, does a lot of trips with our sales staff, and with the amount of mileage that he puts on units and stuff like that, I thought I would put it on a unit that he plans on towing out west or something, and getting some feedback from him.
I can say that the G-rated Saloon tire is a phenomenal tire, and it's very widely reviewed in a positive light. So if that's something we can put on this, and if Fred loves the performance and it works well for him, you know, that's a huge step up in my opinion. Another one is looking at the suspension system. Again, we looked at the Dexter Torflex, we've looked at MORryde components, we've looked at LCI components, and we are trying to find one that is going to provide the type of travel and suspension articulation that you're going to want, while at the same time being robust enough to stand the test of time. The Dexter EasyFlex is actually a pretty good system, and it's a very robust system. So even though it doesn't have the travel of some of the other systems out there, it doesn't have a very high failure rate. It's just that rubber bushing in between it is a pretty robust system. That being said, we are looking at other systems that can provide a little bit more articulation, a little bit more clearance, dampen some of the vibration and some of the roughness that's generally transferred inside of the coach. And unfortunately, Torflex is probably not going to be the right fit, simply because Dexter, you know, kind of told us that they don't prefer it or recommend it on a fifth wheel. But we do have some companies that are kind of stepping up and saying we can develop, or we have a system that will work very well. So that's another area that I think we're actually going to speak to someone today.
Yeah, absolutely. Here in a little bit, you know, we've got some people coming in here to you know, talk about a couple systems that, you know, they've got in development, and they've got some ideas, and they want to get some feedback from us, you know, which is pretty exciting because, you know, we've got the Dexter EasyFlex, we got the LCI Equiflex, you know, MORryde's got their systems, and, you know, in one form or another, you know, a lot of the products within the industry are using, you know, one of those components. We're looking for something to be a step up from that. You know, we want something that isn't just going to be, you know, marketed as being better. We want something that is, you know, proven to be better, and that's what we hope to sit down with them and go over some of the things they've got in the works today, and see if we can't hash out.
So next topic is an area that I was a little confused when I first talked to you about, and that was the rear lighting of the fifth wheels. And one of the interesting points I made in the previous video about how some things there's an obvious reason why they use them. In other ways, some things, it's just the way it's been done for a long time. So I asked Fred, I said, have you considered moving to an all LED lighting system to where your reverse lighting is an LED light? And he goes, we just really hadn't thought about it. The system works well. We haven't really had problems with it. Is that something you think people would want? And I said, absolutely. People love LED lights. And I know the interior of your coach is all LED lighting, but for the tail light, that's something we talked about. And what's kind of funny is, and you mind if I bring that display over on your desk?
I got 4 boxes of them.
Yeah. Here, I'll move the camera over here. So he's got 5 boxes of LED lights after that conversation. So they started sending him every type of LED tail light you can imagine for him to look at to see what he plans on using. Now, out of these, any particular favorites?
No, I was hoping to go through these with you today and pick out some. But I got more than 5 boxes worth of LEDs from the different suppliers from around the area, and pricing on everything. I've got
So I know a lot of people are starting to put those little round style ones as their clearance lights.
Yep.
And then of course these are going to be predominantly your tail light assemblies here, and I'm sure we got more in the boxes. Would you say, based on what you've seen, that the pricing is significantly less than what it was several years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, it's significantly less. It's obviously an upgrade price, from where we're currently at, but significantly less than what they were a few years ago. That's for sure.
That's good. Another area that I was explaining is just the amount of exterior lighting. So manufacturers have done a good job of putting the LED strip underneath the awning to give you kind of that party lighting effect if you're out at night. One of the areas that I was talking to Fred about is a concern for me is sometimes we arrive at campgrounds late and it's dark and you just can't see what's taking place on your connection side. You're out there with a flashlight or one of those little headlights, and it's difficult to see what's around you. You end up tripping over things, or you just can't see. You hit your head on slides as you walk by. And I said, it would be great if coachmen had kind of something nobody else does, and that's more of a 360 lighting system where the entire outside of the coach can be lit up in a way that helps you with your connections. Now, I don't necessarily think you need lighting on the front, simply because that's where your truck's going to be, and there's already kind of a light there under the overhang, or maybe even the rear. But having a significant amount of light coming off of the connection side, I think, would really benefit RVers because it's something nobody really offers. And Fred was completely open to that. He actually made the comment that they can light one of these things up like a Christmas tree if they want.
We can. I mean, the thing with product development, and with our system, I mean, there's not a whole lot that we can't do. What we can't do is something different for every single customer. So, it's you're a perfect sounding board to talk about features that our customers want, because the people that you're communicating with through your YouTube channel and everything else are our customers. And it's a great place to get information, gather information on what the majority of our customers are going to want. We've got certain price points that we're targeting. We're not $100,000 fifth wheel. We're that 40 in a Brookstone product, we're going to be 49 to $60 $1,000 price range in there. And for the most part, that's where we're at. So what can we spend money on that majority of the customers in that price point are going to be looking for that we're not doing? And those are those items that we want to focus on, and lighting certainly makes sense. Lighting up the exterior, well, I'm game. I mean, I like to be a leader in a lot of different things, whether it's floor plan features. If we can separate ourselves, I'm all about that. So,
Fred, I really appreciate your time. We have some meetings actually with some of the folks that you were talking about earlier. Hopefully we can come up with some really great ways to add some additional innovation to the Brookstone product.
Appreciate that, JD, and we're looking forward to it too.
Thanks. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, this is a perfect time to subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up, and we will talk to you again very soon.